Hi, I'm Captain Scott Payne of the South Alberta Light Horse, Medicine Hat's Army Reserve Unit. I'm here today to talk to you about the 3rd Annual Medicine Hat Military Heritage Exhibition, which we're having on the 9th of June at 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock at Patterson Armory in Medicine Hat. This will be the 3rd exhibition. This year we're going to have 2 to 3 bands playing military music, as well as the Medicine Hat Police Service performing a canine demonstration. And we're going to have several exhibitors showing their collections from their personal collections and museums, in addition to the South Alberta Light Horse Regimental Museum, which will be open during the day. I'm here in southern Alberta at the Ghost Squadron Military Museum with Mr. Wes Krause, the owner and curator. We're going to talk about his collection today. Wes?
Hey, good afternoon, Scott.
Wes, this is your 3rd year at the exhibition.
Yep.
And some of the people are starting to get to know you and the Ghost Squadron Military Museum.
Right.
How did you get into collecting and then eventually forming the museum? And what are your interests that it covers?
Well, getting into collecting, that goes back to pre-teen. Back in the mid-70s, I joined the local Air Cadet Squadron, number 15 Squadron, Royal Canadian Air Cadets. At the time, I was a rather large kid, and they didn't have a uniform in their quartermaster stores that would fit me, so they sent up to Cold Lake to get me a uniform. Well, what they sent was, a rather obsolete uniform. In fact, a 1942 Royal Canadian Air Force battle dress. Well, when I got it, I looked at 1942, you gotta be kidding. Well, okay, this is my uniform. I wore that uniform for a few years in the squadron. I was incredibly proud of that uniform. During that time, actually, it was one of our coldest winters we had in a lot of years, and my grandfather, he was really concerned about, being out marching at the time, and he happened to have an old greatcoat in his basement that he said, you better wear this, and in his broken English, he basically said, you need a good coat for marching in winter. So, okay, fine, Grandpa. I took this coat and looked, well, it's a 1942 Royal Canadian Air Force greatcoat. Well, I wore that to first parade, and my captain of the squadron, he proceeded to chew me out about it, saying, that's not your issue, kit. You can't wear that. And respectfully, I opened up the coat and pointed out the 1942 Royal Canadian Air Force marking, opened up my battle dress and said, it says 1942 Royal Canadian Air Force, and he just looked at that, looked at me, he says, oh, smart aleck kid in his old uniforms. Well, needless to say, I was hooked. I knew that's what I was going to do as a hobby, as a pastime, and as an obsession too, to a certain degree, was collect military uniforms. And I actually physically bought my first uniform that year, and that was a United States Army Air Force uniform. The snowball effect took hold, and it just grew from there. And I've specialized now, not specialized, but yes, I have specialized in United States Army Air Force, Royal Canadian Air Force, the divisions, specific divisions of the U.S. military, the 88th Infantry Division, the 41st Infantry Division, the 4th Canadian Armored Division, because that was a local division, so to speak. The South Alberta Light Horse traces its lineage, as you know, to the South Alberta Regiment, which part of their one squadron was formed here, and a lot of men from here went overseas serving with the South Alberta Regiment. So I've branched off that way. Also too into the North Russia Siberian Expeditionary Force. Anything related to B-17 Flying Fortresses, as you see with some of the photographs here and the artwork here. I've been a fan of the B-17 Flying Fortress since I was pre-teen, and that just spun off. Now, unfortunately, I cannot own a full-size B-17 Flying Fortress because I'm kind of limited with parking here, so I can collect the artwork. I've got a large number of original photographs of the aircraft, bits and pieces of memorabilia, some of the flight manuals from World War II of that aircraft. So there is some reason with where I'm going with this, but the primary goal of this entire thing is to preserve military history. And I do that through collecting. So you see all the pictures on the walls here, all the posters, the Stars and Stripes magazines, photographs of, well, Betty Grable. Everything ties into the military and preservation of military history.
Now, Wes, this is my second time at your museum. It's a very impressive collection.
Thank you.
One of the things that I really like about you're preserving military history, but you're also educating people. Can you talk about some of the things that you do on the internet, as well as some of the public speaking and some of the papers you've written to educate people about their history and North American military history?
Well, it has a double meaning there, is that educating people about military history is one thing, but promoting the preservation of military artifacts is another thing. Yes, I've done a lot of research, both on the internet. I've wrote presentations for a variety of different publications. I wrote a research paper for the Custer Battlefield Museum Historical Association. Presented that at their annual symposium in 1992. It subsequently got published in the annual papers. I've provided parts of the collection to different authors to use in books that they have written. Some of my papers have been cited in books. So yeah, it's a good thing to preserve the military history, promote it. That's the key thing. Get more people interested in actually saying, hey, this is a piece of history. Let's preserve that, rather than throw it away. And it's a tragedy. I've seen a lot of family members just don't want to preserve their fathers, grandfathers, or great-grandfathers, memorabilia of their service in the military. And that's sad. And that's one thing I would like to see change. That it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a photograph of a family member or a piece of insignia off a uniform, or even a uniform. It has some value as a military artifact. As a historical artifact. It needs to be preserved somehow, some way. So if I can educate people and say, hey, that's a World War I uniform, that should be preserved, then, and if they actually do that, great. If they look at their grandfather's World War II Canadian uniform and think, well, I could wear that to work as a work jacket. No, don't do that. Preserve it. Preserve it, protect it from the elements, keep it dry, do whatever you need. You need it, and if you don't want to keep it in the family, we can find somebody that'll preserve it.
Yeah, Wes, one of the things that I really like about what you do is you bring it to the people, the great conflicts that we've had in the past centuries, even the smaller conflicts. It's always been local people all across North America and Europe who've joined up, served, and even if it's just a little piece of their uniform with their name tag or their medals, you're carrying that on so that their sacrifices, whether they were killed or not, their time, their effort, the bloodshed that they saw and partook in is remembered. So thanks again, Wes. I really look forward to seeing you on the 9th of June at Patterson Armory, and I think it's going to be a real treat this year for everybody.
And thank you very much, Scott, and I look forward to seeing everybody come out and see the military exhibition this year. It's going to be a killer.
So again, folks, on the 9th of June at Patterson Armory, between 1 and 5, South Alberta Light Horse will be hosting the Medicine Hat Military Heritage Exhibition. Admission is free. We hope you bring the family. There'll be lots of seating, lots of great things to see. There'll be live demonstrations and music, as well as the Ghost Squadron Military Museum and several other historical collections. So watch for the Ghost Squadron Military Museum to come to Medicine Hat on the 9th of June, 1 to 5. Thank you.